Let me walk you through a building. You approach it across a wide, empty setback of grass. A chain-link fence runs the perimeter. Every door is locked from the outside except one, the single point of entry, where a camera watches you press a buzzer and state your business. Inside, you pass through a vestibule with a second set of locked doors, your issued identification. You will wear it where it can be seen. Down the long corridor, cameras track you from the ceiling. Movement happens only at scheduled times, announced by bells, in supervised groups. An armed officer patrols the halls. Several times a year, everyone inside practices going dark, lights off, doors locked, bodies pressed silent against the wall. Now let me walk you through a second building. Perimeter fence. Single controlled entry. Cameras in every corridor. Movement by bell, with permission. An officer on patrol. Regular lockdown procedure. Here's the thing. I never described a second building. Both times it was your child's school. And you couldn't tell, because if I had said county jail, every detail would have fit just as well. Understand what's actually at stake here, because this is not about paint colors or architecture snobbery. 50 million American children spend around 15,000 hours of their childhood inside this building. It is the one structure every citizen passes through. Whatever the building assumes about the world, an entire generation absorbs as normal before they're old enough to question it. Educators have a name for this: the hidden curriculum. The lessons no one says out loud, taught by the walls themselves. And if the walls keep teaching what they're teaching now, America will raise the first generation in its history for whom being watched, badged, buzzed in, and locked down feels like the natural condition of life. Not a policy, not an emergency, just how the world is. So the building deserves to be read like a document, and the American school has worn 4 faces. Each one tells you exactly what the country believed at the time. The last face should stop you cold. Face 1, the palace. Walk through any old American downtown and find the school built around 1900. Carved stone. Arched windows 2 stories tall. Columns, cornices, a bell tower. These schools were built like courthouses and cathedrals deliberately because the school was a town's proudest public statement. Marble hallways for 8-year-olds. That's what the building said when America wanted to show off what it believed. But here's the first thing they never told you. Even inside the palace, something else was already running the schedule. In 1843, a reformer named Horace Mann, a name almost no one knows, though he shaped more American childhoods than any president toured Prussia and brought home a blueprint, children sorted into batches by age, moved room to room on a fixed schedule, drilled in unison, graded, and passed down the line. The factory had just conquered the world, and the school was quietly redesigned to feed it. The rows of identical desks are the assembly line. The grades are quality control. And the bell, the sound that still governs every American childhood, is the factory shift whistle. The bell was never for the children. It was for the line. Sit with that. The most familiar sound of childhood is industrial equipment. And that was Phase 2, the factory in the palace. Phase 3 arrived in the 1960s and 70s, and it sounds like something out of dystopian fiction, except it's plainly documented. American districts began building schools with no windows. Not fewer windows. None. Sealed brick boxes under fluorescent light. The official reasons were dressed up as science windows distract students, glass invites vandals, sealed walls are cheaper to heat. In that same decade, the federal government published its first national reports on school violence, and police officers appeared in schools for the first time in about 1% of them. Hold on to that number. 1%. You're going to watch it move. Because in 1999, at a high school in Colorado, Phase 4 arrived and the American school changed faster than it had in a century. After Columbine, a new profession took over the drafting table, and it asked a new question. Not how do children learn best in this building, but how does an attacker move through it? The philosophy has a formal name: crime prevention through environmental design. Sightlines. Access control. Controlled entry. In America, it is applied most rigorously to exactly 2 kinds of building: prisons and schools. The numbers show how completely it won. Cameras. 61% of schools 15 years ago, 93% now. Lockdown drills, 96% of all public schools. Fire drills took a century to become universal. Lockdown drills did it in 20 years. And that police presence? 1% in the 70s. Today, roughly half of all American schools. Which brings us to the climax of this story, the newest school in America, and the sentence hiding inside its floor plan. Go to Fruitport, Michigan. In 2019, the district built a $48 million high school, part funded by a grant from the state police. Its hallways are curved deliberately so that a gunman cannot aim down them. Concrete wing walls jut from the corridors for students to hide behind. And every classroom contains what the designers call a shadow zone, a corner, invisible from the doorway, sized to conceal the entire class. One button locks every door in the district at once. Read that the way an architect reads it. In America's newest schools, the floor plan is drawn around a shooter's line of sight before it is drawn around anything else. The gunman is in the blueprint, now a standard design assumption, like the fire exits. And the superintendent admitted the final twist: the security is deliberately disguised. The curves look playful. The barriers look decorative. The children, he said, shouldn't have to think about why any of it is there. The newest school in America is a fortress dressed as a friendly building, a structure designed to gently lie to the children inside it about what it is for. So read the four faces in a row, and the story tells itself. The palace said, "We believe in the future." The factory said, "We need workers." The sealed box said, "We're cutting costs." And the fortress says, the one thing no society should be able to say to its own children: we could not fix the danger, so we redesigned your childhood around it. Here's what to do with this. This week, drive past the school in your own neighborhood, the one you've passed 1,000 times without seeing, and actually read it. Count the cameras. Find the single entrance. Look for what's missing: the windows, the open gate, the way in that doesn't require permission. Then ask yourself the only question that matters. Is this building the way it is because the world truly demands it, or because we stopped demanding anything better? Because buildings can be rebuilt, but only after someone finally notices what they've become. The building isn't lying to you. It never has. And it's not the only public room America quietly gave up on. We once built spaces whose entire purpose was for people to gather in the open, unafraid, and then we stopped. There's a video right here on why American towns don't have public squares anymore. It's the other half of this same story, the architecture of a country slowly closing its doors.